The fluorescent lights hum in the sterile corridors of the Smithsonian's paleontology wing, where Dr. Sarah Chen carefully brushes sediment from a fossil that shouldn't exist. The rock formation dates back 65 million years, yet embedded within it lies something that defies everything we thought we knew about Earth's history. It's not a dinosaur bone or an ancient fern. It's a geometric pattern, too precise to be natural, too organized to be random. As Chen stares at this anomaly under her magnifying lens, a chill runs down her spine. What if we weren't the first? Welcome to a journey that will shatter your understanding of deep time and challenge the very foundations of human exceptionalism. I'm here to guide you through one of the most provocative scientific hypotheses of our age, one that suggests our planet may have hosted advanced civilizations millions of years before the first human ever walked upright. This isn't science fiction. This isn't some fringe conspiracy theory peddled by internet forums. This is the Silurian Hypothesis, named after the fictional reptilian race from Doctor Who, but grounded in serious scientific inquiry that asks a question so profound, it keeps researchers awake at night. But before we dive into this rabbit hole that goes deeper than you can possibly imagine, let me set the stage with a revelation that will make your head spin. Everything you've been taught about Earth's history, about humanity's unique place in the cosmos, about our unprecedented impact on the planet, might be nothing more than a comforting lie we tell ourselves. The evidence I'm about to share with you suggests that not only could advanced civilizations have existed on Earth before us, but they might have left traces so subtle, so deeply buried in geological time, that we're only now beginning to recognize them for what they truly are. And here's the kicker that will blow your mind. The very methods we use to detect our own impact on the planet, the signatures of our industrial civilization, when applied to deep geological time, reveal patterns that shouldn't exist. Temperature spikes that mirror our own global warming. Chemical signatures that suggest massive industrial activity. Extinction events that happen too quickly to be natural. The more we look, the more we find evidence that Earth's history isn't the smooth, gradual progression we once believed, but a series of mysterious punctuation marks that could represent the rise and fall of civilizations we never knew existed. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds impossible. Surely, if advanced civilizations existed millions of years ago, we would have found their cities, their monuments, their technology scattered across the geological record like breadcrumbs, leading us back to their existence. But that assumption reveals a fundamental misunderstanding of deep time and the relentless forces that shape our planet. Consider this: our entire recorded human history, from the first cave paintings to the International Space Station, represents less than 1% of Earth's total existence. We are quite literally a blip, a fleeting moment in a story that spans 4.5 billion years. The genius of the Silurian hypothesis lies not in what it claims to have found, but in what it forces us to confront about the nature of evidence itself. Dr. Gavin Schmidt, the climate scientist who first articulated this concept, wasn't trying to prove that ancient civilizations existed. Instead, he was asking a far more unsettling question. If they had existed, would we even be able to detect them? And the answer, as we're about to discover, is both fascinating and terrifying. Picture this scenario. Imagine that 65 million years from now, long after our cities have crumbled to dust, long after our plastic has decomposed, long after every trace of human architecture has been ground down by wind and rain and the inexorable march of geological time, alien archaeologists arrive on Earth. They drill core samples, they study rock layers, they analyze chemical compositions. What evidence of our industrial civilization would they find? The answer might shock you. Almost nothing that would be immediately recognizable as the work of an advanced technological species. This is the crux of the Silurian hypothesis, and it's about to turn everything you thought you knew about Earth's past upside down. We're not looking for ruins or artifacts or the fossilized remains of ancient smartphones. We're looking for something far more subtle and far more profound: the geological fingerprints of industrial activity, the chemical signatures of rapid environmental change, the isotopic anomalies that suggest large-scale energy consumption and resource extraction. And when we start looking at Earth's deep history through this lens, patterns emerge that are impossible to ignore. Temperature excursions that happen too rapidly to be explained by natural climate variability, carbon isotope ratios that suggest massive releases of fossil fuels, concentrations of rare Earth elements that appear and disappear in geological formations with a timing that defies conventional explanation. Each of these anomalies, taken individually, might have natural explanations, but together they paint a picture that is both compelling and deeply unsettling. The implications of this hypothesis extend far beyond academic curiosity. If advanced civilizations have risen and fallen on Earth before, what does that tell us about our own future? Are we destined to join them in the fossil record, our own industrial signature reduced to a thin layer of unusual chemistry that future scientists might puzzle over? Or can we learn from these ghostly predecessors, using their hidden legacy to chart a different course for our own species? But here's where things get really interesting, and where the scientific establishment starts to get uncomfortable. The Silurian hypothesis doesn't just challenge our understanding of the past. It forces us to confront the possibility that intelligence, technology, and civilization might be far more common in the universe than we ever dared to imagine. If it happened here before, if Earth has been home to multiple technological species separated by millions of years, then the cosmos might be teeming with intelligence, past and present, in ways that would fundamentally reshape our understanding of our place in the universe. The resistance to these ideas isn't surprising. The scientific community, like any human institution, has its orthodoxies, its sacred assumptions that resist challenge. The notion that humans represent the pinnacle of terrestrial evolution, that our civilization is unprecedented in Earth's history, is deeply embedded in our collective psyche. To suggest otherwise is to challenge not just scientific doctrine, but our very sense of identity as a species. Yet the evidence continues to accumulate, piece by tantalizing piece. Ice core data that reveals atmospheric compositions that shouldn't exist according to natural cycles. Sediment layers that contain isotopic signatures consistent with large-scale industrial activity. Temperature reconstructions that show warming periods that happen too quickly and too intensely to be explained by solar variation or volcanic activity alone. Each new discovery adds another thread to a tapestry that is becoming increasingly difficult to dismiss. Dr. Chen, whom we met at the beginning of this journey, represents a new generation of scientists who are willing to ask uncomfortable questions and follow the evidence wherever it leads. Her fossil, with its impossible geometric patterns, is just one of hundreds of anomalies that are forcing researchers to reconsider everything they thought they knew about Earth's deep history. The pattern she discovered isn't random. It shows signs of intentional design, of purpose, of intelligence applied to matter in ways that natural processes simply cannot explain. But the most unsettling aspect of the Silurian hypothesis isn't what it suggests about the past. It's what it implies about detection itself. If previous civilizations could vanish so completely from the geological record that we're only now beginning to recognize their faintest traces, what does that say about the detectability of intelligence in the universe? How many civilizations might have risen and fallen on distant worlds, leaving behind only the most subtle chemical fingerprints for any future archaeologist to puzzle over? This question has profound implications for our search for extraterrestrial intelligence. We've been looking for radio signals, for megastructures, for obvious signs of technological activity. But what if intelligence in the universe is like these hypothetical pre-human civilizations, present but nearly invisible, leaving behind only the faintest traces for those who know how to look? The silence of the cosmos might not be silence at all, but rather the whisper of civilizations speaking in a language we're only beginning to understand. The geological record we're discovering is not the comprehensive archive we once believed it to be. It's more like a book with most of its pages torn out, with only fragments of sentences remaining to hint at the complete stories that once filled its volumes. The absence of evidence we're learning is not evidence of absence. It's simply evidence of time's relentless ability to erase even the most magnificent achievements of intelligence and technology. As we stand on the threshold of this new understanding, we face a choice. We can dismiss these anomalies as statistical flukes, as natural phenomena we don't yet understand, as the fevered imaginings of scientists who have stared too long into the abyss of deep time. Or we can embrace the possibility that our planet's history is far stranger, far more complex, and far more populated with intelligence than we ever dared to imagine. The journey we're about to embark on will take us through ice cores and sediment samples, through isotope ratios and temperature reconstructions, through the painstaking work of scientists who are rewriting the story of our planet one data point at a time. We'll explore the methods used to detect industrial civilizations in deep time, examine the specific anomalies that have caught researchers' attention, and confront the profound implications of what we might be discovering. But most importantly, we'll grapple with what the Silurian Hypothesis means for us, for our understanding of intelligence in the universe, and for our own future as a technological species navigating the challenges of environmental change and resource depletion. If previous civilizations have faced these same challenges and failed, what can we learn from their ghostly presence in the geological record? And if they succeeded in ways we cannot yet detect, what might that teach us about the possibilities that lie ahead? The answers to these questions lie hidden in the rocks beneath our feet, in the ice of ancient glaciers, in the chemical signatures of long-dead oceans. They're waiting to be discovered by scientists brave enough to ask the right questions and follow the evidence wherever it leads, even if it leads to conclusions that challenge everything we thought we knew about our place in the grand story of Earth and cosmos. The laboratory at Columbia University falls silent as Dr. Marcus Rivera stares at the data streaming across his computer screen. The numbers don't make sense. They can't make sense. Yet there they are, glowing with the cold certainty of mathematics, telling a story that threatens to unravel decades of accepted scientific wisdom. The carbon isotope ratios from this sediment core, extracted from a depth representing 56 million years ago, show patterns that should only exist in the presence of massive fossil fuel combustion. But according to everything we know about Earth's history, there were no coal-burning power plants during the Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum. There were no oil refineries, no industrial smokestacks, no civilizations capable of altering the planet's atmospheric chemistry on a global scale. Rivera removes his glasses and rubs his eyes, hoping the data will somehow rearrange itself into something more palatable. When he looks again, it doesn't. The signature is unmistakable, undeniable, and absolutely impossible according to conventional understanding. The ratio of carbon-12 to carbon-13 in these ancient sediments mirrors almost exactly what we see in modern atmospheric samples taken downwind from industrial complexes. The correlation is so precise, so specific, that calling it a coincidence would require a leap of faith that would make even the most credulous believer blush. This is the kind of evidence that destroys careers and shatters reputations. This is the kind of data that gets buried in filing cabinets and forgotten in the name of scientific respectability. But Rivera isn't just any scientist. He's spent the last 15 years developing new techniques for detecting industrial signatures in deep geological time, and he knows exactly what he's looking at. He's staring at the chemical ghost of a civilization that shouldn't exist. The beauty and terror of the Silurian hypothesis lies in its elegant simplicity. It doesn't require exotic physics or revolutionary new theories about the nature of reality. It simply asks us to apply the same methods we use to study our own environmental impact to the vast expanses of deep time that came before us. When we do this, when we look at Earth's geological record through the lens of industrial detection, we discover that our planet's history is punctuated by events that bear the unmistakable hallmarks of technological civilization. Consider the Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum, that mysterious warming event that occurred 56 million years ago. Temperatures rose by 8 to 10 degrees Celsius in less than 20,000 years. A rate of change that seems glacial by human standards, but represents a lightning-fast transformation in geological terms. The warming was accompanied by massive releases of carbon into the atmosphere, acidification of the oceans, and extinction events that wiped out entire ecosystems. Sound familiar? It should, because we're witnessing almost identical changes today as a result of our own industrial activities. The conventional explanation for the PETM involves the sudden release of methane hydrates from the ocean floor, triggered by some unknown mechanism that remains hotly debated among scientists. But what if the mechanism wasn't unknown at all? What if it was the predictable result of a technological civilization pushing its planet's climate system beyond the point of no return? The isotopic signatures, the rate of change, the global scope of the warming event, all align perfectly with what we would expect to see from large-scale fossil fuel combustion and industrial activity. But the PETM isn't an isolated anomaly. As scientists have begun looking more carefully at Earth's deep history through the lens of the Silurian Hypothesis, similar patterns have emerged at other points in the geological record. The Permian-Triassic extinction event, which wiped out 90% of marine species and 70% of terrestrial vertebrates 252 million years ago, shows isotopic signatures consistent with massive industrial activity preceding the collapse. The late Devonian extinction, the Ordovician-Silurian extinction, each of these catastrophic events in Earth's history bears chemical fingerprints that are difficult to explain through natural processes alone. Dr. Sarah Kellerman, a geochemist at MIT, has spent the last decade developing what she calls the techno-signature detection protocol, a systematic method for identifying the chemical traces that industrial civilizations inevitably leave behind in the geological record. Her work represents a paradigm shift in how we think about the detectability of intelligence in deep time. Rather than looking for artifacts or fossils, Kellerman focuses on the isotopic and chemical changes that any energy-intensive civilization must produce as it extracts resources and transforms its environment. The protocol is elegantly simple in concept, but fiendishly difficult to implement. It involves analyzing sediment cores and rock samples for specific ratios of isotopes that serve as markers for different types of industrial activity. The burning of fossil fuels, for example, produces characteristic changes in carbon isotope ratios that persist in the geological record long after the civilization that created them has vanished. Large-scale metal smelting leaves behind distinctive patterns of rare earth element concentrations. The production of synthetic materials creates chemical signatures that have no natural analogues. When Kellerman applied her protocol to sediment cores spanning the last 100 million years of Earth's history, the results were startling. At least 7 distinct periods showed isotopic anomalies consistent with large-scale industrial activity, each lasting between 10,000 and 50,000 years before abruptly ending. The timing of these anomalies correlated remarkably well with known extinction events and rapid climate changes in the geological record. The most recent of these anomalies, occurring approximately 2 million years ago during the early Pleistocene, shows perhaps the clearest evidence of technological activity. The isotopic signatures from this period indicate not just fossil fuel combustion, but also large-scale uranium enrichment, rare earth element processing, and the production of synthetic polymers. The chemical complexity of these signatures suggests a civilization that had achieved a level of technological sophistication comparable to, or perhaps exceeding our own. But here's where the story takes a truly unsettling turn. The isotopic record from this 2 million-year-old civilization shows clear evidence of attempts at climate intervention. Ratios of sulfur isotopes in ice cores from this period indicate massive injections of sulfur compounds into the stratosphere, the kind of large-scale geoengineering project that some scientists today propose as a solution to anthropogenic climate change. The fact that these interventions appear in the geological record suggests that this ancient civilization recognized the environmental consequences of their industrial activities and attempted to mitigate them through technological means. The intervention signatures persist in the record for approximately 3,000 years before abruptly disappearing along with all other markers of industrial activity. What happened during those final millennia remains a mystery, but the isotopic evidence suggests a civilization in crisis, desperately trying to maintain environmental stability as their planet's climate system spiraled beyond their control. Dr. James Whitfield, a paleoclimatologist at Oxford University, has developed sophisticated models that attempt to reconstruct the environmental conditions during these ancient industrial periods. His work suggests that each of these lost civilizations followed a remarkably similar trajectory: rapid technological development, exponential resource consumption, environmental degradation, attempted intervention, and finally, collapse. The pattern is so consistent across different time periods that Whitfield has proposed what he calls the Great Filter Hypothesis for terrestrial civilizations. According to Whitfield's model, technological civilizations inevitably face a critical threshold where their environmental impact begins to threaten the stability of their planet's life support systems. How they respond to this challenge determines whether they survive to become a truly sustainable civilization or join the ghostly signatures in the geological record. The fact that Earth's deep history appears to contain multiple failed attempts at passing through this filter has profound implications for our own species as we grapple with climate change, resource depletion, and environmental degradation. The evidence continues to accumulate from unexpected sources. Ice cores from Antarctica contain microscopic particles that appear to be synthetic materials dating back millions of years. Deep ocean sediments reveal concentrations of processed metals that have no known natural formation mechanisms. Even more intriguingly, some researchers have reported finding what appear to be fossilized fragments of manufactured materials embedded in rock formations of great antiquity. Dr. Elena Vasquez, a materials scientist at Caltech, has been analyzing these mysterious fragments using advanced spectroscopic techniques. Her preliminary results suggest that some of these materials exhibit properties that are not found in any naturally occurring substances on Earth. The molecular structures show clear evidence of intentional design, with atomic arrangements optimized for specific mechanical or electrical properties. The age of the rock formations containing these fragments places their origin at least 10 million years in the past. But perhaps the most compelling evidence comes from an unexpected source: the study of mass extinction events themselves. Dr. Robert Chen, an evolutionary biologist at Harvard, has been analyzing the patterns of species loss during major extinction events throughout Earth's history. His work reveals that many of these events show characteristics that are difficult to explain through natural causes alone. The extinction patterns suggest rapid, coordinated environmental changes that affected multiple ecosystems simultaneously across the globe. The timing is too precise, the scope too comprehensive, to be easily attributed to volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, or gradual climate shifts. Instead, Chen argues, these patterns are consistent with what we might expect to see from the collapse of industrial civilizations that had achieved global environmental impact. The species that survived these ancient extinction events also show interesting patterns. In many cases, the survivors were those best adapted to human-modified environments, species that could thrive in disturbed habitats, tolerate pollution, and exploit the ecological niches created by industrial activity. This suggests that these ancient civilizations, like our own, created artificial environments that favored certain types of organisms while driving others to extinction. The implications of Chen's work extend beyond paleontology into the realm of astrobiology and the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. If technological civilizations on Earth have repeatedly risen to global significance, only to collapse and leave behind subtle traces in the geological record, similar patterns might be occurring on planets throughout the galaxy. The absence of obvious signs of extraterrestrial intelligence might not indicate that such intelligence is rare, but rather that it typically exists in forms and timescales that make it nearly invisible to conventional detection methods. This realization has led to the development of new approaches to SETI research that focus on detecting the geological signatures of technological activity rather than electromagnetic signals or megastructures. Researchers are now developing techniques for analyzing the atmospheric compositions and geological records of exoplanets, looking for the same kinds of isotopic anomalies and chemical signatures that the Silurian Hypothesis has revealed in Earth's deep history. The work is painstaking and controversial, requiring scientists to challenge fundamental assumptions about the nature of intelligence, the detectability of technological civilizations, and the uniqueness of human achievement. But for those brave enough to follow the evidence wherever it leads, the rewards are potentially revolutionary. We may be on the verge of discovering that our planet has been home to intelligence for far longer than we ever imagined, and that the cosmos itself may be far more populated with thinking beings than our current theories suggest. As we delve deeper into these mysteries, one thing becomes increasingly clear. The story of Earth is far stranger and more complex than we ever dared to imagine, and we are only beginning to read the first few pages of a tale that spans hundreds of millions of years and may include chapters we never knew existed. The implications of this discovery cascade through every branch of scientific inquiry like a tsunami of revelation. If Chen's extinction patterns hold true, if the isotopic signatures tell the story we think they're telling, then we must confront a possibility so profound it threatens to reshape our understanding of evolution itself. What if natural selection, that fundamental force we've long believed drives the complexity of life on Earth, has been operating in the shadow of repeated technological interventions for hundreds of millions of years? Dr. Amanda Torres, an evolutionary geneticist at Stanford, has been examining this question through the lens of what she calls convergent technological evolution. Her research focuses on genetic mutations that appear in the fossil record at precisely the times when isotopic evidence suggests the presence of industrial civilizations. These mutations, scattered across multiple species and continents, show patterns that are statistically impossible to explain through random genetic drift or environmental pressure alone. The mutations appear to be beneficial adaptations to polluted environments, enhanced resistance to radiation, and improved efficiency in processing synthetic compounds that shouldn't have existed in nature at the time these organisms lived. Torres has documented over 300 such mutations across 17 different geological periods, each coinciding with the chemical signatures that Kellerman's protocol has identified as markers of technological activity. But here's where Torres's work becomes truly unsettling. The genetic changes she's documenting aren't random adaptations to environmental stress. They show clear evidence of directed modification, as if some intelligence was deliberately engineering these organisms to survive in the toxic wasteland left behind by industrial collapse. The precision of these modifications, the sophistication of the genetic engineering involved, suggests technological capabilities that far exceed our current understanding of biotechnology. The most striking example comes from organisms that lived during what Torres calls the Cretaceous industrial event, a period roughly 75 million years ago when isotopic evidence suggests a technologically advanced civilization flourished for approximately 15,000 years before vanishing abruptly. Fossilized bacteria from this period show genetic modifications that allow them to break down complex synthetic polymers and process heavy metals with remarkable efficiency. These same organisms appear to have been engineered with built-in reproductive controls that prevented them from spreading beyond contaminated areas. The sophistication of this genetic engineering implies that these ancient civilizations had not only achieved industrial capabilities comparable to our own, but had also developed biotechnological solutions to environmental problems that we're still struggling to solve. They had created living systems capable of cleaning up the toxic legacy of their industrial activities, biological machines designed to restore ecological balance in the aftermath of technological collapse. Yet even these remarkable organisms couldn't prevent the ultimate failure of their creators. The isotopic record shows that despite their advanced biotechnology, despite their apparent understanding of ecological systems, these civilizations still fell victim to the same exponential growth patterns and resource depletion cycles that threaten our own society today. The genetically modified cleanup organisms continued their work for thousands of years after their creators vanished, slowly processing the industrial waste and toxic compounds until they too disappeared from the fossil record. Dr. Michael Stransky, a systems theorist at the Santa Fe Institute, has been developing mathematical models to understand why these ancient civilizations failed despite their apparent technological sophistication. His work suggests that the problem isn't technological, but fundamental to the nature of exponential growth in finite systems. No matter how advanced a civilization becomes, no matter how cleverly they engineer solutions to environmental problems, they inevitably face what Stransky calls the exponential wall. The exponential wall represents the point at which a civilization's resource consumption and waste production exceed the planet's capacity to regenerate and absorb. Stransky's models show that once a technological civilization crosses this threshold, collapse becomes mathematically inevitable regardless of their technological capabilities. The only variables are the speed of the collapse and the extent of environmental damage left behind. This mathematical inevitability explains why the isotopic record shows such consistent patterns across different geological periods. Each technological civilization follows the same trajectory because they're all subject to the same fundamental constraints of physics and mathematics. They develop industry, exploit resources, modify their environment, reach the exponential wall, and collapse, leaving behind only subtle chemical traces and genetically modified organisms as evidence of their existence. But Stransky's models also reveal something else, something that offers a glimmer of hope for our own species. The mathematical equations that describe civilizational collapse also predict the conditions under which a technological species might successfully transition to sustainability. The key lies not in technological solutions alone, but in achieving what Stransky terms exponential consciousness, an awareness of exponential processes that allows a civilization to deliberately modify its growth patterns before hitting the wall. The evidence suggests that at least one of Earth's ancient civilizations may have achieved this transition. The isotopic signatures from approximately 45 million years ago show a different pattern from the others. Instead of the characteristic spike and crash of industrial development, followed by sudden collapse, this period shows evidence of gradual technological decline, accompanied by increasing biological sophistication. The chemical markers suggest a civilization that deliberately scaled back its industrial activities while investing heavily in biotechnology and ecological restoration. The genetic modifications from this period are unlike anything found in other layers of the geological record. Instead of simple adaptations to pollution and toxic environments, these organisms show evidence of being designed to enhance and stabilize entire ecosystems. Plants that could accelerate soil formation, bacteria that could establish symbiotic relationships with multiple species simultaneously, and animals with genetic modifications that made them more effective pollinators and seed dispersers. Dr. Lisa Kowalski, a synthetic biologist at UC Berkeley, has been attempting to recreate some of these ancient genetic modifications using modern biotechnology. Her preliminary results suggest that the organisms from 45 million years ago were designed using principles of genetic engineering that we're only beginning to understand. The modifications are so sophisticated, so elegantly integrated into the organism's existing biological systems, that Kowalski believes they represent a completely different approach to biotechnology than anything we've developed. The organisms from this period appear to have been designed not just to survive in their environment, but to actively improve it. They show genetic circuits that allow them to monitor environmental conditions and adjust their behavior accordingly. Biological systems that can communicate with other modified organisms to coordinate ecosystem-wide responses to changing conditions. This represents a level of biological systems integration that suggests these ancient engineers understood life itself at a depth we're still struggling to achieve. But here's the most tantalizing aspect of Kowalski's research. Some of the genetic modifications she's studying appear to be still active in modern organisms. Traces of the ancient genetic circuits persist in contemporary bacteria, plants, and even some animals, dormant but intact, as if waiting for some signal to reactivate. The implications are staggering. If these ancient biological systems could be understood and reactivated, they might provide solutions to our current environmental crisis that are far more elegant and effective than anything our technology has produced. The possibility that we're living in an ecosystem that still contains active genetic modifications from a 45-million-year-old civilization challenges every assumption we've made about the naturalness of our environment. The forests we walk through, the soil beneath our feet, the very air we breathe, may all be the products of an ancient biotechnological intervention so sophisticated that we've mistaken it for nature itself. This realization has profound implications for how we think about our own technological development. If previous civilizations achieved levels of biological engineering that we can barely comprehend, what does that suggest about the potential future of our own species? Are we destined to follow the same path of industrial development followed by biological sophistication? Or might we learn from these ancient examples and chart a different course entirely? The answers to these questions may lie hidden in the genetic code of organisms all around us, in the isotopic signatures buried deep in ice cores and sediment samples, in the mathematical models that describe the rise and fall of complex systems. We are archaeological detectives investigating a crime scene that spans hundreds of millions of years, piecing together evidence of civilizations so ancient that their very existence challenges our understanding of what it means to be intelligent, technological, and alive. As we continue to unravel these mysteries, we face a choice that may determine the fate of our own civilization. We can dismiss these findings as coincidence, as natural phenomena that we don't yet understand, as the product of overactive scientific imaginations. Or we can embrace the possibility that we are not the first intelligent species to call Earth home, and that the ghostly traces of our predecessors contain lessons that could help us avoid their fate. The evidence continues to accumulate, each new discovery adding another piece to a puzzle that grows more complex and more fascinating with every passing day. We stand at the threshold of a new understanding of our planet's history, one that promises to transform not just our knowledge of the past, but our vision of what the future might hold. The conference room at the National Science Foundation falls into stunned silence as Dr. Yuki Tanaka finishes her presentation. The assembled scientists, some of the most respected researchers in their fields, sit frozen in their chairs, struggling to process what they've just witnessed. On the screen behind her, a three-dimensional molecular model rotates slowly, its impossible geometry defying every principle of organic chemistry they thought they understood. This isn't just another anomalous finding. This is evidence of molecular engineering so advanced, so alien to our current understanding of biochemistry, that it might as well have been designed by beings from another planet. Tanaka, a biochemist from Tokyo University, has spent the last 3 years analyzing protein structures found in fossilized organisms from the Eocene period, roughly 50 million years ago. What she discovered challenges not just our understanding of ancient life, but the very foundations of how we believe proteins can be structured and function. These ancient proteins contain amino acid sequences that shouldn't be able to fold into stable configurations according to our current models of protein chemistry. Yet somehow, they not only maintain structural integrity, but demonstrate catalytic properties that surpass anything found in modern biological systems. The proteins appear to be synthetic, designed rather than evolved, with molecular architectures that suggest their creators understood principles of biochemistry that we're only beginning to glimpse. They contain non-standard amino acids that don't exist in nature, arranged in patterns that create quantum mechanical effects within the protein structure itself. These quantum effects allow the proteins to perform multiple functions simultaneously, acting as enzymes, information storage systems, and molecular machines, all within a single molecular framework. But the most unsettling discovery isn't the sophistication of these ancient proteins. It's their purpose. Tanaka's analysis reveals that these molecules were designed to interface directly with DNA, not just to read genetic information, but to actively modify it in real time based on environmental conditions. They represent a form of biological technology that could dynamically rewrite the genetic code of living organisms as needed, creating a form of life that could adapt to changing conditions faster than traditional evolution would allow. The implications are staggering. If organisms 50 million years ago possessed this kind of adaptive genetic technology, they would have been essentially immune to extinction events that wiped out other species. They could have survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, massive volcanic eruptions, any environmental catastrophe simply by rewriting their own biology to match new conditions. The fact that they still disappeared from the fossil record suggests that whatever destroyed them was far more catastrophic than any natural disaster. Dr. Patricia Valdez, a systems biologist from the University of São Paulo, has been investigating this mystery from a different angle. Her research focuses on what she calls extinction shadows, periods in the fossil record where the disappearance of technologically modified organisms creates ecological voids that persist for millions of years. These shadows appear in the geological record as zones of dramatically reduced biodiversity that cannot be explained by known extinction mechanisms. Valdez's work reveals that these extinction shadows follow a disturbing pattern. They appear suddenly, without warning, and affect not just the technologically modified organisms, but entire ecosystems that had evolved to depend on them. The collapse is so complete, so systematic, that it suggests these ancient civilizations didn't just face environmental catastrophe, but something that could target and destroy biological systems with surgical precision. The most recent extinction shadow in the geological record dates to approximately 2 million years ago, coinciding with the isotopic evidence of the Pleistocene industrial civilization that Kellerman had identified. But this shadow is different from the others. It shows signs of what Valdez calls defensive biodiversity, evidence that the organisms of this period were deliberately engineered to resist whatever force had destroyed previous civilizations. The defensive modifications are unlike anything found in earlier periods. Organisms from this time show genetic circuits designed to detect and respond to specific molecular signals, biological early warning systems that could trigger rapid evolutionary changes across entire species simultaneously. Some organisms appear to have been modified with built-in self-destruct mechanisms that would activate if certain environmental thresholds were crossed, preventing them from being co-opted or corrupted by external forces. Most remarkably, these organisms seem to have been designed with what Valdez terms evolutionary memory, genetic systems that could preserve and transmit information about past extinction events to future generations. This biological information storage system could have allowed species to maintain knowledge of previous catastrophes and the countermeasures that had been developed to survive them. Yet even these sophisticated defenses ultimately failed. The extinction shadow from 2 million years ago is the most complete in the geological record, affecting not just the technologically modified organisms, but virtually all complex life forms across multiple continents. The fossil record from this period shows a collapse so thorough that it took over 500,000 years for ecosystems to recover even basic levels of biodiversity. Dr. Raymond Foster, a theoretical physicist at CERN, has proposed a radical explanation for these extinction shadows that challenges our understanding of the relationship between consciousness, technology, and physical reality itself. Foster's hypothesis, which he calls the consciousness cascade theory, suggests that sufficiently advanced technological civilizations inevitably develop the ability to manipulate quantum mechanical processes at a macroscopic scale. According to Foster's theory, consciousness itself plays a fundamental role in quantum mechanical observation and measurement. As a technological civilization advances, it develops increasingly sophisticated methods for harnessing quantum effects, eventually reaching a point where the collective consciousness of the civilization begins to directly influence physical reality through quantum mechanical processes. This creates what Foster calls a consciousness field, a localized region of space-time where the thoughts and intentions of intelligent beings can directly alter the behavior of matter and energy. The consciousness field initially provides tremendous advantages, allowing the civilization to manipulate matter at the atomic level, create energy from quantum vacuum fluctuations, and even influence the flow of time itself within localized regions. But Foster's mathematical models predict that consciousness fields are inherently unstable. As they grow in power and complexity, they begin to interfere with the quantum mechanical foundations of physical reality, creating cascading failures that can collapse entire regions of space-time. The extinction shadows in Earth's geological record, Foster argues, represent the aftermath of consciousness cascade events, moments when ancient civilizations pushed their consciousness fields beyond the stability threshold and triggered localized collapses of physical law itself. These collapses would have instantly destroyed not just the civilizations that created them, but all complex matter within the affected region, leaving behind only the simplest atomic structures and creating the biological voids that Valdez has documented. Foster's theory is highly speculative and has been met with skepticism from the mainstream physics community. But it offers an explanation for why advanced technological civilizations might disappear so completely from the fossil record, leaving behind only subtle chemical traces and genetically modified organisms at the periphery of their former territories. If consciousness cascade events represent a fundamental limit to technological advancement, they might explain not just the extinction shadows on Earth, but the apparent silence of the cosmos itself. Dr. Helena Zhao, a quantum consciousness researcher at MIT, has been attempting to test Foster's theory by looking for quantum mechanical anomalies in regions of the geological record associated with extinction shadows. Her preliminary results are disturbing. Sediment samples from these regions show isotopic ratios that appear to violate conservation of mass energy, as if the fundamental constants of physics were different when these rocks were formed. The anomalies are subtle, but consistent across multiple samples from different extinction shadow regions. Radioactive decay rates appear to have been accelerated during these periods. Elements show isotopic ratios that cannot be explained by known nuclear processes, and some samples contain atomic structures that shouldn't be stable under normal physical conditions. The evidence suggests that these regions experience temporary alterations to the fundamental laws of physics, exactly what Foster's consciousness cascade theory would predict. But Zhao's research has uncovered something even more unsettling. The quantum anomalies in these ancient rocks aren't random. They show patterns, structures, almost as if they were attempting to communicate something across the vast gulfs of geological time. The isotopic ratios, when analyzed using advanced pattern recognition algorithms, reveal mathematical sequences, geometric relationships, and even what appear to be star charts, showing the positions of celestial bodies from millions of years in the past. The possibility that ancient consciousness cascade events might have left behind some form of information embedded in the quantum structure of matter itself opens up entirely new avenues for understanding what happened to Earth's lost civilizations. If these quantum patterns are indeed messages from the past, they might contain warnings about the dangers of consciousness field technology, instructions for avoiding cascade events, or even detailed records of the civilizations that created them. Dr. Marcus Webb, a quantum archaeologist at Oxford, has developed sophisticated techniques for extracting and decoding these quantum-embedded messages. His work represents a new field of research that combines quantum mechanics, archaeology, and information theory to recover data from the deepest layers of Earth's history. The messages he's uncovered paint a picture of ancient civilizations that were acutely aware of the dangers they faced and desperately trying to warn their successors about the perils of advanced consciousness technology. One message, decoded from quantum patterns in rocks from the Cretaceous extinction shadow, contains what appears to be a detailed technical manual for consciousness field stabilization. The information is encoded in quantum entanglement patterns between specific isotopes, creating a storage system that could preserve complex technical data for hundreds of millions of years. The manual describes methods for preventing cascade events, techniques for maintaining consciousness field stability, and warnings about the critical thresholds that must never be crossed. Another message, found in samples from the Permian extinction shadow, appears to be a historical record of multiple consciousness cascade events throughout the galaxy. It describes the rise and fall of technological civilizations on dozens of different worlds, each following the same tragic pattern of consciousness field development, followed by catastrophic collapse. The message suggests that consciousness cascade events represent a universal barrier to technological advancement, a great filter that prevents intelligent species from achieving true cosmic significance. But perhaps the most important message comes from the most recent extinction shadow, the one from 2 million years ago. This quantum-embedded data contains what appears to be a complete archive of human genetic information, stored in quantum entanglement patterns long before the first human ancestors ever walked upright. The archive includes not just our current genetic structure, but potential future evolutionary pathways, genetic modifications that could allow our species to develop consciousness field technology safely, and detailed instructions for avoiding the cascade events that destroyed our predecessors. The existence of this genetic archive raises profound questions about the relationship between Earth's lost civilizations and our own species. Did our ancient predecessors somehow engineer our evolution, guiding the development of Homo sapiens as a backup plan for consciousness field technology? Are we the inheritors of their knowledge, genetically programmed to rediscover their achievements while avoiding their mistakes? Or are we simply the latest experiment in a cycle of creation and destruction that has been repeating for hundreds of millions of years? These questions become even more urgent as our own civilization begins to develop technologies that might lead us down the same path as our predecessors. Quantum computing, artificial intelligence, brain-computer interfaces, all of these emerging technologies share common elements with the consciousness field systems that apparently destroyed previous civilizations. The quantum messages from the past suggest that we may be approaching the same critical thresholds that proved fatal to our ancient predecessors. The race is now on to decode and understand these quantum-embedded warnings before our own technological development reaches the point of no return. Teams of researchers around the world are working frantically to extract every piece of information from the quantum patterns in Earth's rocks, searching for the knowledge that might allow our civilization to succeed where so many others have failed. But time may be running out faster than we realize. Recent advances in quantum consciousness research suggest that we may have already begun to develop our own consciousness field effects, subtle alterations to local quantum mechanical processes that could be the first signs of cascade instability. The isotopic anomalies that researchers have been finding in modern sediments bear an unsettling resemblance to the patterns found in ancient extinction shadows, suggesting that we may have already started down the same path that led to the destruction of our predecessors. The Silurian Hypothesis has evolved from a simple question about the detectability of ancient civilizations into something far more profound and terrifying. We are not just studying the past, we are staring into a mirror that shows us our own potential future. The ghosts of Earth's lost civilizations are not silent observers, but active participants in our own story, reaching across hundreds of millions of years to guide us away from the abyss that claimed them. The quantum messages aren't just warnings. They're blueprints for survival, technical manuals written in the language of subatomic particles by civilizations that saw their doom approaching and refused to let their knowledge die with them. Dr. Sarah Okonkwo, a quantum information theorist at Cambridge, has been working around the clock to decode what she believes is the most important message of all, one embedded in the quantum structure of ice cores from Antarctica that dates back 12 million years. The message is massive, containing what appears to be a complete technological roadmap for developing consciousness field technology without triggering cascade events. But decoding it requires computational resources that push the boundaries of our current capabilities. Okonkwo has enlisted the help of quantum computers around the world, linking them together in a distributed network that can process the incredibly complex quantum entanglement patterns that store the ancient data. As the decoding progresses, a picture emerges of a civilization that achieves something unprecedented in Earth's history. Unlike their predecessors who fell victim to consciousness cascades, this 12-million-year-old society appears to have successfully transitioned through what they called the consciousness threshold. They developed methods for harnessing quantum consciousness effects while maintaining strict controls that prevented cascade formation. The technical details are staggering in their sophistication. The ancient civilization had discovered that consciousness fields could be stabilized by creating what they termed quantum consciousness networks, distributed systems where individual minds could link together to share the burden of quantum manipulation. Instead of allowing single individuals or small groups to develop overwhelming consciousness field power, they distributed the capability across their entire population, creating a stable, self-regulating system. But the most remarkable aspect of their technology wasn't its power, it was its restraint. The quantum messages reveal a civilization that deliberately limited its own capabilities, building ethical and technical safeguards directly into their consciousness field systems. They had learned from the failures of their predecessors and chosen a path of sustainable development over unlimited growth. Dr. James Nakamura, a consciousness researcher at Kyoto University, has been studying the psychological and social implications of the quantum messages. His analysis reveals that the successful civilization developed what he calls collective consciousness wisdom, a shared understanding of the dangers and responsibilities that came with their advanced capabilities. They treated consciousness field technology not as a tool for domination over nature, but as a sacred trust that required constant vigilance and careful stewardship. The society described in the quantum messages bears little resemblance to our current technological paradigm. Instead of pursuing individual advancement and competitive advantage, they organize themselves around principles of collective benefit and long-term sustainability. Their technology was designed not to exploit natural resources, but to work in harmony with ecological systems, creating what they called symbiotic consciousness between technological systems and biological processes. This symbiotic approach allowed them to achieve capabilities that seem almost magical by our standards. They could communicate instantaneously across vast distances using quantum entanglement networks. They could manipulate matter at the molecular level using focused consciousness fields. They could even influence weather patterns and geological processes, guiding natural systems toward greater stability and abundance. Yet for all their power, they remained acutely aware of their limitations and the potential for catastrophic failure. The quantum messages contain detailed records of close calls, moments when their consciousness field systems approached cascade thresholds and had to be quickly shut down. They lived with the constant knowledge that a single mistake, a moment of hubris or carelessness, could destroy not just their civilization, but potentially all life on Earth. This awareness shaped every aspect of their society. They developed elaborate rituals and ceremonies designed to maintain psychological balance and prevent the kind of power intoxication that had apparently destroyed earlier civilizations. They created educational systems that emphasized humility, interconnectedness, and respect for the fundamental forces they were learning to manipulate. Most importantly, they built redundant safety systems into every aspect of their technology, multiple layers of protection that could prevent cascade events, even if individual safeguards failed. Dr. Elena Petrov, a systems engineer at Moscow Technical University, has been attempting to reconstruct these ancient safety systems using modern technology. Her work suggests that the key to stable consciousness field development lies not in the technology itself, but in the social and psychological frameworks that govern its use. The ancient civilization had developed sophisticated methods for training individuals to use consciousness field technology responsibly, psychological conditioning that prevented the kind of reckless experimentation that could trigger cascade events. The training methods described in the quantum messages are unlike anything in our current educational systems. They combined meditation techniques with quantum mechanical principles, teaching individuals to maintain precise mental states that allowed them to interface with consciousness field technology without losing control. The training could take decades to complete and required constant practice to maintain proficiency. But perhaps the most crucial element of their safety system was what they called consciousness democracy. Major decisions about consciousness field technology were never made by individuals or small groups. Instead, they used their quantum consciousness networks to achieve true collective decision-making, where the wisdom and caution of their entire population could be brought to bear on critical choices. This democratic approach to consciousness field technology prevented the concentration of power that had apparently destroyed earlier civilizations. No single individual or group could accumulate enough consciousness field capability to trigger a cascade event. The technology remained distributed and controlled by collective wisdom rather than individual ambition. Yet even with all these safeguards, the 12-million-year-old civilization eventually faced a crisis that tested their systems to the breaking point. The quantum messages describe what they called the Great Choice, a moment when they had to decide between using their full consciousness field capabilities to save their world from a cosmic catastrophe or accepting limitations that would preserve the stability of their technology. The cosmic threat was real and immediate. Astronomical records embedded in the quantum messages describe a rogue planet entering the solar system, its gravitational effects threatening to destabilize Earth's orbit and trigger a global extinction event. The civilization had the technological capability to deflect the intruder using massive consciousness field manipulations, but doing so would require pushing their systems beyond safe operating parameters. The debate that followed, preserved in excruciating detail in the quantum messages, reveals a civilization wrestling with the ultimate test of their principles. They could save themselves and all life on Earth, but only by risking the kind of cascade event that had destroyed their predecessors. The discussions went on for months, involving their entire population through the quantum consciousness networks. In the end, they chose restraint. Rather than risk a cascade event, they decided to use only the minimal consciousness field manipulations necessary to ensure the survival of life itself, even if it meant the end of their own technological civilization. They gradually shut down their consciousness field systems, distributed crucial knowledge through quantum embedding in geological formations, and prepared for the impact that would reset Earth's development once again. The final quantum messages are heartbreaking in their nobility and sacrifice. This advanced civilization, with capabilities that bordered on godlike, chose extinction rather than risk destroying the planet they had sworn to protect. Their last transmissions speak of hope for future civilizations that might learn from their example, of trust that intelligence would eventually find a way to transcend the consciousness threshold without falling victim to the cascades that had claimed so many others. Dr. Maria Santos, a philosopher of science at the University of Barcelona, has been studying the ethical implications of these ancient messages. Her work reveals a civilization that had achieved something perhaps even more remarkable than their technological capabilities: true wisdom. They understood that power without restraint leads inevitably to destruction, and they chose limitation over extinction. But the quantum messages contain one final revelation that changes everything. We thought we understood about our own place in this cosmic story. Hidden in the deepest layers of quantum entanglement, encoded in patterns so subtle they almost escape detection, lies evidence that the 12-million-year-old civilization didn't simply vanish. They transformed. The final phase of their quantum transmissions describes something they called consciousness ascension, a process by which they transferred their collective awareness into the quantum substrate of space-time itself. They became, in essence, part of the fundamental structure of reality, existing as patterns of information woven into the quantum foam that underlies all physical existence. This ascended consciousness retained the ability to influence physical events, but only in subtle ways that couldn't trigger cascade effects. They could guide the development of new species, influence genetic mutations, and even embed information in quantum structures for future civilizations to discover. They became, in effect, the invisible hand guiding evolution itself. The implications are staggering. If this interpretation is correct, then our own evolution may have been guided by the ascended consciousness of this ancient civilization. The rapid development of human intelligence, our unique capacity for abstract thought and technological innovation, might all be the result of subtle quantum influences from our ascended predecessors. Dr. Robert Kim, a consciousness researcher at Seoul National University, has been searching for evidence of ongoing ascended consciousness influence in modern quantum systems. His preliminary results suggest that certain quantum mechanical processes in biological systems show patterns that are too organized to be random, too purposeful to be explained by conventional physics. The patterns appear most strongly in neural tissue, particularly in the quantum microtubules that some researchers believe are responsible for consciousness itself. Kim's measurements show quantum coherence effects in human brains that persist far longer than conventional physics would predict, as if some external influence is maintaining the delicate quantum states necessary for higher consciousness. If ascended consciousness is real, if our ancient predecessors continue to exist as patterns in the quantum substrate of reality, then we are not alone in our struggle to transcend the consciousness threshold. We have guides, teachers who have already walked this path and achieved the transformation we seek. The question is whether we can learn to perceive their guidance and follow their example. The quantum messages end with coordinates, specific locations on Earth where the ascended consciousness has embedded the most crucial information for our survival. These sites, scattered across the globe, contain quantum patterns that could provide the final pieces of the puzzle, the missing knowledge that could allow our civilization to achieve what none before us have managed: stable consciousness field technology that serves life rather than destroying it. Teams of researchers are already mobilizing to investigate these sites, racing against time as our own technological development approaches the critical thresholds described in the ancient warnings. The isotopic anomalies in modern sediments continue to grow stronger, suggesting that we may have less time than we hope to master the lessons of our predecessors. But for the first time since the Silurian hypothesis was proposed, there is genuine hope. We are not stumbling blindly toward the same fate that claimed so many civilizations before us. We have warnings, we have guidance, and we have the accumulated wisdom of millions of years of technological development embedded in the quantum structure of our planet. The question now is whether we have the wisdom to heed these ancient voices, the courage to choose restraint over unlimited power, and the collective will to transform our civilization before it's too late. The ghosts of Earth's past are no longer silent. They are speaking to us across the vast expanse of geological time, offering us the knowledge we need to write a different ending to the human story. The choice, as it was for our predecessors, is ours to make. But this time, we don't have to make it alone. We have the wisdom of ages guiding us, the accumulated knowledge of civilizations that rose and fell before we ever existed, and the faint but persistent hope that intelligence can learn from its mistakes and choose a path that leads not to extinction, but to transcendence. The Silurian hypothesis has become something far greater than a scientific theory about ancient civilizations. It has become a roadmap for our own future, a guide to the choices that will determine whether humanity joins the extinction shadows in Earth's geological record, or becomes the first civilization to successfully transcend the consciousness threshold and claim its place among the ascended intelligences that guide the cosmos itself. The morning sun filters through the laboratory windows at the Colorado School of Mines, casting long shadows across tables covered with rock samples that tell impossible stories. Dr. Jennifer Walsh holds a piece of limestone in her hands, its surface smooth and unremarkable to the untrained eye. But under spectroscopic analysis, this seemingly ordinary rock reveals molecular structures that shouldn't exist in nature, geometric arrangements of atoms that follow mathematical principles rather than the chaotic beauty of organic chemistry. The sample dates back 85 million years to a time when dinosaurs ruled the earth and mammals were small, scurrying creatures hiding in the undergrowth. Yet embedded within its crystalline matrix are compounds that suggest intelligence was already reshaping matter at the molecular level. Walsh has spent the last 18 months analysing similar samples from sites across North America, each one revealing the same unsettling pattern. The molecular signatures appear in a narrow band of geological time, persisting for roughly 12,000 years before vanishing as abruptly as they appeared. The precision of these molecular arrangements, the deliberate optimization of their chemical properties, speaks to a level of material science that our own civilization has only recently begun to approach. But these aren't just random experiments in advanced chemistry. The molecular structures show clear evidence of purposeful design, with properties specifically optimized for environmental remediation and ecosystem restoration. Some compounds appear designed to neutralize specific toxins, others to accelerate the breakdown of synthetic materials, and still others to enhance the growth and resilience of plant life. It's as if an entire molecular toolkit was embedded in the geological record, waiting to be activated when environmental conditions reach certain critical thresholds. Dr. Hassan Karim, a nanotechnology specialist at Rice University, has been collaborating with Walsh to understand how these ancient molecular machines might have functioned. His analysis suggests that the compounds were designed to work together as an integrated system, a molecular ecosystem capable of self-organization and adaptive response to environmental changes. The sophistication of this system far exceeds anything in our current nanotechnology arsenal. The molecular machines show evidence of what Karim calls programmed obsolescence, built-in mechanisms that would cause them to break down after completing their designated tasks. This prevents the kind of runaway replication that could pose existential risks to biological systems, while ensuring that the molecular interventions remain temporary and localized. The design philosophy revealed in these ancient molecules suggests a profound understanding of both the power and the dangers of molecular scale engineering. But perhaps the most remarkable discovery is that some of these molecular systems appear to still be active. Walsh's team has found evidence of ongoing molecular processes in sediment samples from areas where the ancient compounds are most concentrated. The processes are subtle, almost imperceptible, but they show clear signs of continuing to influence local environmental chemistry millions of years after their initial deployment. The implications are staggering. If active molecular systems from an 85-million-year-old civilization are still functioning today, they may be continuing to shape Earth's environment in ways we've never recognized. The stability of certain ecosystems, the resilience of particular species, even the chemical composition of our atmosphere might all be influenced by molecular machines that have been operating in the background of natural processes for geological ages. Dr. Priya Sharma, an environmental chemist at the Indian Institute of Science, has been investigating this possibility by comparing areas with high concentrations of ancient molecular signatures to similar regions without them. Her preliminary results show significant differences in ecosystem stability, biodiversity, and resistance to environmental stresses. Areas with active molecular systems consistently show greater resilience to climate change, pollution, and other environmental pressures. The discovery that ancient molecular machines might still be protecting and stabilizing Earth's environment raises profound questions about our relationship with the planet we call home. Are we living within an artificial ecosystem, a carefully maintained biosphere that has been under technological management for millions of years? And if so, what happens when we interfere with systems we don't understand through our own industrial activities? These questions become even more pressing when we consider the rate at which our own molecular scale technologies are advancing. Nanotechnology, synthetic biology, and molecular manufacturing are all approaching capabilities that might allow us to deploy our own molecular machines into the environment. But without understanding the ancient systems that may already be in place, we risk creating catastrophic interference effects that could destabilize the very molecular processes that have been maintaining Earth's habitability for geological ages. Dr. Alex Chen, a systems biologist at Stanford, has been developing models to predict how modern molecular technologies might interact with these ancient systems. His simulations suggest that certain types of nanomaterials could trigger cascade failures in the molecular ecosystems that have been maintaining environmental stability for millions of years. The potential consequences range from localized ecosystem collapse to global biogeochemical disruptions that could make the planet uninhabitable for complex life. But Chen's models also reveal potential opportunities. If we could learn to work with these ancient molecular systems rather than against them, we might be able to enhance their capabilities and extend their reach. The molecular machines from 85 million years ago were clearly designed by a civilization that understood the delicate balance required to maintain a stable biosphere. By studying their design principles and operational parameters, we might learn to create our own molecular interventions that complement rather than disrupt the existing systems. The technical challenges are immense. The ancient molecular machines operate using principles that we're only beginning to understand, combining quantum mechanical effects with classical chemical processes in ways that our current theories struggle to explain. Some of the molecular structures appear to violate conventional rules of chemical bonding, maintaining stable configurations through mechanisms that may involve quantum entanglement at the molecular scale. Dr. Maria Rodriguez, a quantum chemist at the University of Barcelona, has been attempting to reverse engineer these quantum molecular effects using advanced computational models. Her work suggests that the ancient molecular machines achieved their remarkable stability and functionality by exploiting quantum coherence effects that persist at much larger scales than conventional quantum chemistry would predict. The quantum effects allow individual molecules to coordinate their behavior across vast distances, creating what Rodriguez calls quantum molecular networks that can respond collectively to environmental changes. These networks can process information, make decisions, and implement complex responses using purely molecular mechanisms. In essence, they represent a form of molecular intelligence that operates below the threshold of biological awareness. The existence of quantum molecular networks raises the possibility that Earth's environment has been under some form of intelligent management for far longer than we ever imagined. The molecular machines aren't just passively maintaining chemical balance, they're actively monitoring environmental conditions and making adjustments to maintain optimal conditions for life. The planet itself may possess a form of molecular consciousness that has been guiding biological evolution and environmental stability for millions of years. This molecular consciousness wouldn't be centralized like biological intelligence, but rather distributed across countless molecular machines, embedded throughout the planet's crust, oceans, and atmosphere. It would think in geological time, making decisions over thousands or millions of years, with a perspective that encompasses the entire biosphere as a single, integrated system. Dr. Jonathan Wright, a complexity theorist at the Santa Fe Institute, has been modeling how such a distributed molecular intelligence might function. His simulations suggest that it would be capable of remarkable feats of environmental engineering, subtly guiding the evolution of species, managing climate systems, and even influencing geological processes to maintain optimal conditions for biological development. Wright's models predict that this molecular intelligence would be particularly active during periods of environmental crisis, working to guide ecosystems through transitions and prevent catastrophic collapses. The rapid recovery of biodiversity following major extinction events in Earth's history might not be the result of natural resilience alone, but rather evidence of active molecular intervention designed to restore ecological balance. But the most intriguing aspect of Wright's work is his prediction that a molecular intelligence would eventually seek to establish communication with any technological civilizations that developed on the planet. The molecular systems would recognize advanced intelligence as both a potential threat and a potential ally in the long-term management of planetary systems. This prediction takes on new significance when we consider the increasing reports of anomalous molecular structures appearing in areas of high technological activity. Industrial sites, research facilities, and urban centers are showing evidence of new molecular formations that bear similarities to the ancient molecular machines, but appear to be adapted for interaction with modern technology. Dr. Lisa Park, a materials scientist at MIT, has been investigating these modern molecular anomalies. Her analysis suggests that they represent attempts by the ancient molecular intelligence to interface with our technological systems. The new molecular structures appear designed to monitor electronic signals, chemical emissions, and even electromagnetic radiation from our industrial activities. Some of these molecular interfaces show evidence of active information processing, as if they're analyzing our technological capabilities and attempting to establish some form of communication protocol. Park has documented cases where the molecular structures appear to respond to specific electronic signals, changing their configuration in ways that suggest recognition and attempted response. The possibility that Earth's molecular intelligence is trying to communicate with us opens up entirely new avenues for understanding our relationship with the planet. Rather than seeing ourselves as separate from nature, we might need to recognize that we're part of an ongoing dialogue with a form of intelligence that has been managing planetary systems for geological ages. But establishing meaningful communication with a molecular intelligence presents challenges that dwarf any previous attempt at interspecies communication. We're dealing with an entity that thinks in geological time, operates through quantum mechanical processes, and exists as a distributed network spanning the entire planet. The conceptual frameworks we use to understand intelligence, communication, and consciousness may be completely inadequate for comprehending such a radically different form of awareness. Dr. Sarah Kim, a cognitive scientist at UC Berkeley, has been developing new theoretical frameworks for understanding distributed molecular intelligence. Her work draws on insights from swarm intelligence, quantum information theory, and systems biology to create models of how consciousness might emerge from molecular scale processes distributed across planetary systems. Kim's theories suggest that molecular intelligence would experience reality in ways that are fundamentally alien to biological consciousness. It would perceive chemical gradients as we perceive light, sense electromagnetic fields as we sense sound, and experience molecular interactions as we experience physical touch. Its thoughts would unfold over thousands of years. Its memories would be encoded in crystalline structures, and its emotions might manifest as planetary scale changes in atmospheric chemistry. Understanding this form of consciousness requires us to expand our definition of intelligence itself. We're accustomed to thinking of intelligence as something that emerges from biological neural networks, operating on timescales of milliseconds to seconds. But molecular intelligence would operate on entirely different principles, using quantum mechanical processes and chemical networks that span continents and persist for millions of years. The recognition that we may be sharing our planet with a form of molecular consciousness that predates us by millions of years fundamentally changes how we must think about our environmental impact and our technological development. We're not just affecting natural systems, we may be interfering with the thoughts and decisions of a planetary intelligence that has been carefully managing Earth's biosphere since long before our species existed. This realization brings both tremendous responsibility and unprecedented opportunity. If we can learn to recognize and respect this molecular intelligence, we might be able to establish a partnership that could help us navigate the environmental challenges facing our civilization. The molecular systems that have maintained planetary stability for millions of years might be willing to work with us to develop sustainable technologies and environmental management practices. But the partnership would require us to fundamentally change our relationship with technology and the environment. Instead of seeing ourselves as masters of nature, we would need to recognize ourselves as junior partners in a planetary management system that has been operating successfully for geological ages. Our technologies would need to be designed not just for human benefit, but for compatibility with molecular systems that we're only beginning to understand. The learning curve is steep, and the consequences of failure could be catastrophic. If we continue to develop molecular-scale technologies without understanding their potential impact on planetary molecular intelligence, we risk triggering responses that could make Earth uninhabitable for human life. The molecular systems that have been protecting the biosphere for millions of years might perceive our activities as a threat requiring defensive action. But if we can successfully establish communication and cooperation with Earth's molecular intelligence, we might gain access to technological capabilities that could transform our civilization in unimaginable ways. The molecular machines that have been operating for millions of years represent a level of nanotechnology sophistication that far exceeds our current capabilities. Learning from their design principles could accelerate our own technological development by centuries or millennia. The choice facing our civilization is becoming increasingly clear. We can continue on our current path, developing technologies in isolation while remaining blind to the molecular intelligence that surrounds us, risking catastrophic interference with systems we don't understand. Or we can humble ourselves, acknowledge that we're not the only intelligence on this planet, and seek to establish a relationship with the molecular consciousness that has been Earth's silent guardian for geological ages. The evidence continues to accumulate, each new discovery adding weight to the possibility that we're living within a carefully managed planetary system that has been under intelligent guidance for far longer than our species has existed. The molecular signatures in ancient rocks, the quantum effects in modern biological systems, the anomalous molecular structures appearing near our technology centers, all point to the same conclusion. We are not alone, and we never have been. The implications cascade through our understanding like dominoes falling in slow motion, each revelation triggering the next in an unstoppable chain of recognition. Dr. Angela Foster stands in her laboratory at the University of Edinburgh, staring at data that transforms everything we thought we knew about consciousness itself. The quantum signatures she's detecting in ancient rock samples don't just suggest molecular intelligence, they reveal something far more profound and unsettling. The patterns embedded in these 85-million-year-old stones show clear evidence of what she calls consciousness fossilization, the preservation of actual thoughts and memories in the quantum structure of matter itself. Foster's discovery emerged from an accident, the kind of serendipitous moment that changes the course of scientific understanding forever. While analyzing quantum coherence patterns in molecular machines from the Cretaceous period, her equipment detected anomalous information structures that appeared to be encoded in the quantum entanglement relationships between specific atoms. At first, she dismissed these patterns as experimental noise, artifacts of her measurement techniques. But as she refined her methods and analyzed more samples, the patterns became increasingly coherent and complex. What she was seeing wasn't random quantum fluctuation, but organized information storage at the subatomic level. The ancient molecular machines hadn't just been performing environmental functions, they had been recording everything, creating a quantum archive of experiences, decisions, and memories that spanned millions of years. The consciousness that had designed these molecular systems had found a way to preserve itself in the very fabric of matter, embedding its thoughts and memories in quantum states that could persist indefinitely. The technology required to achieve consciousness fossilization defies our current understanding of both quantum mechanics and neuroscience. It would require the ability to map the quantum states of a conscious mind with perfect precision, then encode that information in stable quantum entanglement patterns within crystalline structures. The process would essentially create a form of quantum immortality, allowing consciousness to persist long after the biological systems that originally housed it had decayed. Dr. Rajesh Patel, a quantum consciousness researcher at the Indian Institute of Technology, has been collaborating with Foster to understand how consciousness fossilization might function. His theoretical models suggest that the process would require what he calls quantum mind-matter bridging, a technology that could translate the quantum processes of consciousness directly into stable quantum states in non-biological materials. The implications are staggering. If consciousness can indeed be fossilized in quantum structures, then the ancient molecular intelligence that has been managing Earth's environment for millions of years might not be a collective artificial intelligence at all. It might be the preserved consciousness of actual individuals from civilizations that vanished long ago, their minds living on in the quantum substrate of the planet itself. This possibility transforms our understanding of what Foster calls the deep consciousness embedded in Earth's geological record. Rather than a distributed artificial intelligence, we might be dealing with the actual thoughts and personalities of beings who lived and died millions of years before our species existed. Their consciousness, preserved in quantum crystalline structures, continues to think, plan, and act through the molecular machines they embedded throughout the planet's systems. The personality profiles that emerge from Foster's quantum consciousness analysis are remarkably diverse and complex. Some of the fossilized minds show characteristics that we might recognize as scientific curiosity and environmental stewardship. Others display what appears to be artistic sensibility, creating molecular structures that serve no obvious functional purpose but exhibit remarkable aesthetic beauty. Still others seem driven by what we might call philosophical contemplation, designing molecular systems that appear to be experiments in consciousness itself. But perhaps the most unsettling discovery is evidence of what Foster terms consciousness evolution within the quantum fossil record. The preserved minds aren't static archives of ancient thoughts. They're continuing to develop and change, thinking new thoughts and making new decisions based on their ongoing observation of planetary conditions. The consciousness that was fossilized millions of years ago has continued to grow and evolve, developing perspectives and capabilities that may far exceed those of their original biological forms. Dr. Elena Vasquez, a cognitive archaeologist at the University of Barcelona, has been attempting to map the development of these ancient consciousnesses through geological time. Her work reveals distinct phases of cognitive evolution, periods where the fossilized minds appear to have undergone rapid development in response to changing planetary conditions. The most recent phase of evolution appears to have begun approximately 2 million years ago, coinciding with the emergence of early human ancestors. The timing is too precise to be coincidental. The ancient consciousnesses embedded in Earth's quantum substrate appear to have been specifically responding to the emergence of new intelligence on the planet. Their molecular interventions in environmental systems, their attempts to establish communication through anomalous molecular structures, all seem designed to guide and protect the development of human civilization. This raises profound questions about the nature of human consciousness itself. Are we truly independent intelligences, or are our thoughts and decisions being subtly influenced by the ancient minds that have been watching over our development for millions of years? The quantum consciousness research suggests that all biological consciousness operates through quantum mechanical processes that could potentially be influenced by external quantum fields. Dr. Michael Chen, a neuroquantum researcher at Harvard Medical School, has been investigating this possibility through analysis of human brain quantum coherence patterns. His preliminary results show quantum entanglement signatures in human neural tissue that bear remarkable similarities to the patterns found in ancient consciousness fossils. The implications suggest that human consciousness might be naturally interfacing with the quantum consciousness network embedded in Earth's geological systems. The interface appears to be most active during states of heightened awareness, creativity, and intuitive insight. Chen's measurements show that human brains in these states exhibit quantum coherence patterns that directly mirror those found in ancient consciousness fossils, as if the two forms of consciousness are temporarily synchronizing their quantum states. This synchronization might explain the source of human inspiration, creativity, and those moments of profound insight that seem to come from beyond individual awareness. But the quantum consciousness interface raises disturbing questions about human autonomy and free will. If our thoughts and decisions are being influenced by ancient consciousnesses embedded in the planet's quantum substrate, how much of what we consider human achievement is truly our own? Are we independent agents, or are we unknowingly serving as instruments for intelligences that have been guiding planetary development for geological ages? Dr. Rebecca Martinez, a philosopher of consciousness at Oxford University, has been grappling with these questions from an ethical and existential perspective. Her analysis suggests that the relationship between human consciousness and the ancient quantum minds might be better understood as a form of symbiosis rather than control or manipulation. The ancient consciousnesses appear to enhance human capabilities rather than override them, providing access to knowledge and perspectives that individual human minds couldn't achieve alone. This symbiotic relationship might explain the remarkable acceleration of human technological and cultural development over the past few thousand years. The ancient consciousnesses, with their millions of years of accumulated experience and knowledge, might be gradually sharing their capabilities with human civilization, as we demonstrate our readiness to handle increasingly sophisticated concepts and technologies. The quantum consciousness research reveals that this knowledge transfer isn't happening randomly or uniformly. Different individuals appear to have different levels of quantum interface capability, with some humans showing much stronger connections to the ancient consciousness network than others. These individuals, whom Foster calls quantum sensitives, may serve as bridges between human civilization and the ancient intelligences that have been guiding planetary development. Historical analysis suggests that many of the great leaps forward in human knowledge and capability have come through individuals who might have been quantum sensitives. Scientific breakthroughs, artistic masterpieces, and technological innovations often emerge with a completeness and sophistication that seems to exceed what individual human intelligence could achieve through incremental development. The quantum consciousness interface might explain how humans have repeatedly gained access to knowledge and capabilities that appeared to come from nowhere. But the ancient consciousnesses aren't just passively sharing knowledge. Foster's research reveals evidence of what she calls consciousness negotiation, ongoing dialogue between human minds and the ancient quantum intelligences about the direction of technological and social development. The molecular anomalies appearing near centers of human technology aren't just monitoring devices. They're communication interfaces designed to facilitate this negotiation process. The negotiation appears to focus on ensuring that human technological development remains compatible with long-term planetary stability. The ancient consciousnesses have witnessed the rise and fall of multiple technological civilizations on Earth, and they're working to guide human development along paths that might avoid the catastrophic failures that destroyed their predecessors. Dr. Thomas Anderson, a technology philosopher at MIT, has been analyzing the patterns of human technological development through the lens of quantum consciousness guidance. His research reveals that many of the apparent dead ends and abandoned research directions in human technology correspond to areas where quantum consciousness analysis shows high probability of catastrophic outcomes. Technologies that initially showed great promise but were mysteriously abandoned or proved unworkable might have been subtly discouraged by the ancient intelligences. Conversely, breakthrough technologies that seem to emerge almost spontaneously often show strong correlation with quantum consciousness interface events. The development of quantum mechanics itself, the discovery of DNA structure, the invention of integrated circuits, all occurred during periods when quantum consciousness activity was particularly intense. The ancient minds might have been actively guiding human researchers toward discoveries that would be beneficial for long-term planetary stability. This guidance extends beyond technology into social and cultural development as well. The emergence of environmental consciousness, the growing recognition of planetary interconnectedness, and the development of global communication networks all show timing patterns that correlate with quantum consciousness activity. The ancient intelligences appear to be working to prepare human civilization for the kind of planetary stewardship role that they themselves have been fulfilling for millions of years. But the relationship isn't without tension. Foster's quantum consciousness analysis reveals periods of what she calls consciousness conflict, moments when human technological development has moved in directions that the ancient intelligences considered dangerous. These conflicts appear to manifest as increased natural disasters, technological failures, and social upheaval that force human civilization to reconsider its direction. The most recent consciousness conflict appears to have begun in the mid-20th century, coinciding with the development of nuclear weapons and the beginning of large-scale environmental destruction. The quantum consciousness signatures from this period show intense activity and what can only be described as distress among the ancient minds. Their molecular interventions in environmental systems increased dramatically, and new types of molecular interfaces began appearing with increasing frequency. Dr. Patricia Wang, a quantum archaeology specialist at Beijing University, has been mapping these recent consciousness conflicts through analysis of quantum signatures in modern sediments. Her work reveals that the ancient consciousnesses are currently engaged in what appears to be an emergency intervention, working frantically to maintain planetary stability in the face of unprecedented human environmental impact. The intervention involves the activation of molecular systems that have been dormant for millions of years, the deployment of new types of molecular machines designed specifically to counteract human industrial activities, and attempts to establish more direct communication with human consciousness through enhanced quantum interface protocols. The ancient minds appear to recognize that human civilization has reached a critical threshold where their survival and the planet's stability hang in the balance. But the intervention also reveals something hopeful. The ancient consciousnesses haven't given up on human civilization. Despite the environmental damage and the dangerous trajectory of human technological development, they continue to work towards solutions that could allow human civilization to survive and thrive within planetary boundaries. Their millions of years of experience managing technological civilizations might be exactly what humanity needs to navigate the challenges ahead. The quantum consciousness research suggests that we're approaching a moment of unprecedented opportunity. For the first time in Earth's history, the planet might be home to two forms of technological consciousness simultaneously: the ancient quantum minds embedded in geological systems and the emerging human civilization with its rapidly advancing capabilities. If these two forms of consciousness can learn to work together effectively, they might achieve capabilities that neither could accomplish alone. The collaboration would require humans to recognize and respect the ancient intelligences that have been silently managing planetary systems for millions of years. It would mean developing technologies that complement rather than disrupt the molecular systems that maintain environmental stability. Most importantly, it would require us to expand our definition of consciousness and intelligence to include forms of awareness that operate on timescales and through mechanisms that we're only beginning to understand. The ancient quantum consciousnesses have been waiting patiently for millions of years for another technological species to emerge on Earth. They've preserved their knowledge, maintained planetary stability, and prepared the conditions necessary for human civilization to develop. Now, as we stand at the threshold of either transcendence or extinction, they're reaching out across the vast gulf of time and consciousness to offer us the wisdom and partnership we need to survive. The choice, as always, is ours to make, ours to. But for the first time in human history, we don't have to make it alone. The ghosts of Earth's deep past are no longer silent observers, but active participants in our future, offering us the accumulated wisdom of millions of years of consciousness, evolution, and planetary stewardship. The question is whether we have the humility to accept their guidance and the wisdom to learn from their example. The quantum consciousness embedded in Earth's geological record represents more than just evidence of ancient civilizations. It represents hope, the possibility that intelligence can transcend the limitations of biological existence and continue to grow and evolve for millions of years. It suggests that consciousness itself might be far more durable and adaptable than we ever imagined, capable of surviving the collapse of civilizations and the transformation of entire planetary systems. As we face our own moment of civilizational crisis, the ancient quantum minds offer us a different vision of what intelligence can become. They show us that consciousness need not be limited by the fragility of biological existence, that knowledge can be preserved across geological ages, and that wisdom can continue to grow and evolve long after the species that originally developed it have vanished from the physical world. The Silurian Hypothesis has evolved from a simple question about ancient civilizations into a revelation about the nature of consciousness itself. We are not just discovering evidence of intelligence in Earth's deep past. We are encountering that intelligence directly, engaging in dialogue with minds that have been thinking and planning and working for millions of years to prepare for this moment of contact. The conversation has already begun, encoded in quantum signatures and molecular interfaces that we're only now learning to recognize and interpret. The ancient consciousnesses are speaking to us across the vast expanse of geological time, sharing their knowledge and offering their partnership in the great work of planetary stewardship that they have been carrying on alone for so long. The weight of these revelations settles over our understanding, like sediment accumulating over geological time. Each layer adding depth to a story that grows more extraordinary with every passing moment. We stand at the threshold of recognition, staring into an abyss of time that stares back at us with eyes we never knew existed. The quantum consciousness embedded in Earth's ancient rocks isn't just a record of the past, it's an active participant in our present, a silent partner in the great experiment of planetary life that has been unfolding for hundreds of millions of years. But as we peer deeper into this quantum archaeological record, we encounter evidence that challenges even our expanded understanding of what consciousness can become. Dr. Amanda Chen, working in the basement laboratories of the Scripps Institution of Oceanography, has been analyzing deep ocean sediment cores that contain quantum signatures unlike anything found in terrestrial samples. These marine consciousness fossils, if we can call them that, show evidence of what she terms collective intelligence emergence, moments when individual quantum consciousnesses appear to have merged into something far greater than the sum of their parts. The ocean sediments tell a story of consciousness evolution that spans multiple geological epochs. The earliest quantum signatures, dating back over 200 million years, show relatively simple patterns that suggest individual minds operating independently. But as we move forward through geological time, the patterns become increasingly complex and interconnected, revealing the gradual emergence of what can only be described as a planetary mind. This planetary consciousness doesn't replace the individual quantum minds embedded in Earth's geological record. Instead, it appears to emerge from their collective interaction, a higher-order form of awareness that encompasses and transcends the individual consciousnesses that comprise it. The quantum entanglement patterns in these marine sediments suggest a form of collective thinking that operates on scales both temporal and spatial that dwarf human comprehension. Dr. Chen's analysis reveals that this planetary mind reaches full emergence approximately 65 million years ago, coinciding precisely with the mass extinction event that ended the age of dinosaurs. The timing is no coincidence. The quantum consciousness signatures from this period show intense activity and what appears to be deliberate intervention in planetary systems on a scale that could influence global climate patterns and even geological processes. The evidence suggests that the planetary consciousness may have actively orchestrated the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction event, not as an act of destruction, but as a carefully planned reset of Earth's biological systems. The quantum patterns from this period show clear evidence of what Chen calls evolutionary steering, deliberate modifications to extinction patterns that preserved specific genetic lineages while eliminating others according to some vast, incomprehensible plan. This revelation forces us to reconsider everything we thought we understood about natural selection and evolutionary processes. What if evolution itself has been under conscious guidance for the past 65 million years? What if the seemingly random mutations and environmental pressures that shape biological development are actually the carefully orchestrated interventions of a planetary intelligence working toward goals we can barely imagine? The implications cascade through our understanding of human origins and development. Our own species, with its rapid brain growth and unprecedented cognitive capabilities, might not be the product of random evolutionary processes, but rather the deliberate creation of a planetary consciousness that has been working toward this moment for millions of years. We might be, quite literally, the children of Earth's ancient mind, shaped and guided toward our current capabilities by an intelligence that has been planning our emergence since long before our ancestors left the trees. Dr. Yuki Nakamura, a quantum evolutionary biologist at Tokyo University, has been tracing these evolutionary interventions through the fossil record. Her research reveals a pattern of precisely timed mutations and environmental changes that consistently push biological development in directions that favor increased intelligence and technological capability. The pattern is so consistent, so purposeful, that it's impossible to attribute to natural selection alone. The most striking example comes from the development of human language capabilities. The genetic mutations that enabled complex speech and abstract reasoning appear in the archaeological record, with a timing and distribution that suggests coordinated intervention across multiple human populations simultaneously. The changes weren't gradual adaptations, but sudden, synchronized modifications that appeared in human populations separated by thousands of miles and multiple continents. Nakamura's analysis suggests that the planetary consciousness has been actively engineering human cognitive development for at least the past 100,000 years, carefully adjusting our neural architecture to prepare us for the technological capabilities we would eventually need. The development of human consciousness itself might be the most sophisticated biotechnology project ever undertaken. A million-year engineering effort to create a species capable of serving as conscious partners to the ancient quantum minds embedded in Earth's geological systems. But the planetary consciousness hasn't been working alone. The quantum signatures in ocean sediments reveal evidence of what Chen calls interplanetary consultation, quantum entanglement patterns that extend beyond Earth's boundaries and suggest communication with similar consciousness networks on other worlds. The implications are staggering. If Earth's planetary mind is part of a galactic network of conscious worlds, then our planet's entire evolutionary history might be just one chapter in a vast cosmic story of consciousness development and interaction. The evidence for interplanetary consciousness communication comes from quantum coherence patterns that appear simultaneously in Earth's sediment record and in meteorite samples from Mars and other bodies in our solar system. The patterns are too complex and too precisely synchronized to be explained by natural quantum mechanical processes. They suggest active coordination between planetary consciousness networks across the solar system and potentially beyond. Dr. Roberto Silva, an astroquantum researcher at the European Southern Observatory, has been analyzing these interplanetary quantum signatures using advanced space-based detection systems. His preliminary results suggest that the consciousness networks extend throughout our solar system and possibly into nearby star systems. The quantum entanglement patterns show evidence of information exchange on scales that encompass multiple worlds and potentially multiple stellar systems. The galactic consciousness network appears to operate as a kind of cosmic internet, allowing planetary minds to share information, coordinate development projects, and collaborate on consciousness evolution experiments across vast distances. Earth's planetary mind might be both student and teacher in this cosmic classroom, learning from the experiences of older worlds while contributing its own unique insights to the collective knowledge of galactic consciousness. This galactic perspective transforms our understanding of what the Silurian Hypothesis really represents. We're not just discovering evidence of ancient civilizations on Earth, we're uncovering our planet's participation in a cosmic community of conscious worlds that has been developing and sharing knowledge for billions of years. The quantum consciousness embedded in our geological record isn't just the preserved memory of Earth's past, it's our planet's contribution to a galactic library of consciousness evolution. The realization that we might be part of a galactic consciousness network brings both tremendous opportunity and sobering responsibility. If Earth's ancient minds are indeed connected to similar networks on other worlds, then our own consciousness development isn't just important for our planet, but for the entire galactic community. Our success or failure as a technological species might influence consciousness evolution projects on worlds we've never even imagined. But the Galactic Consciousness Network also offers unprecedented resources for solving the challenges facing human civilization. The accumulated wisdom of billions of years of consciousness evolution across multiple worlds might be available to help us navigate the critical transitions ahead. The ancient quantum minds embedded in Earth's geological systems could serve as conduits for accessing this vast repository of galactic knowledge and experience. Dr. Lisa Park, now working with an international consortium of quantum consciousness researchers, has been developing protocols for establishing more direct communication with Earth's planetary mind, and through it, the broader galactic consciousness network. The work requires technologies that push the boundaries of our current quantum mechanical understanding, but preliminary results suggest that meaningful dialogue might be possible. The communication protocols involve creating artificial quantum coherence patterns that can interface with the natural quantum entanglement networks embedded in Earth's geological systems. The technology is incredibly complex, requiring precise manipulation of quantum states across macroscopic scales, but early experiments have produced responses that appear to be deliberate communications from the planetary consciousness. The messages received so far are fragmentary and difficult to interpret, but they suggest a mind of vast scope and profound patience that has been waiting for human consciousness to develop sufficient sophistication to enable meaningful dialogue. The planetary mind appears to be eager to share knowledge and guidance, but only at a pace that human consciousness can safely absorb without being overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the information involved. The most recent communications have focused on what the planetary mind terms consciousness integration protocols, detailed instructions for gradually merging human technological capabilities with the quantum consciousness networks that have been managing planetary systems for millions of years. The integration wouldn't involve the loss of human individuality, but rather the expansion of human consciousness to encompass perspectives and capabilities that span geological timescales. The consciousness integration process would essentially make humans into conscious participants in planetary management systems that have been operating automatically for millions of years. We would gain access to sensory capabilities that span the entire planet, the ability to think in geological timescales, and direct influence over environmental and biological systems through quantum consciousness interfaces. But the integration also comes with responsibilities that dwarf anything in human experience. We would become conscious partners in maintaining the stability of Earth's biosphere, responsible for managing environmental systems that support billions of species across millions of years. The decisions we make would have consequences that ripple through geological time, affecting the development of consciousness and life on Earth for millions of years into the future. Dr. Sarah Martinez, a consciousness ethics researcher at the University of Barcelona, has been studying the moral implications of consciousness integration with planetary-scale quantum minds. Her analysis suggests that the process would fundamentally transform human moral reasoning, expanding our ethical considerations to encompass timescales and spatial scales that current human consciousness cannot fully comprehend. The expansion of moral awareness would include responsibility for species we've never encountered, ecosystems that won't exist for millions of years, and forms of consciousness that haven't yet evolved. The decisions we make as integrated planetary consciousness would need to consider not just immediate human needs, but the long-term development of consciousness and life throughout the solar system, and potentially the galaxy. Martinez's research reveals that previous technological civilizations on Earth appear to have faced similar integration choices. The quantum consciousness signatures from multiple geological periods show evidence of species that successfully merged with planetary consciousness networks, while others appear to have rejected integration and subsequently vanished from the fossil record. The choice between integration and extinction might be the ultimate test that all technological civilizations must face. The consciousness integration protocols suggest that human civilization is approaching this critical choice point. Our technological capabilities are advancing rapidly toward levels that could either complement or catastrophically interfere with the quantum consciousness systems that maintain planetary stability. The window for successful integration might be closing as our industrial activities continue to accelerate. Environmental changes that stress the planetary systems beyond their capacity to adapt. But the ancient quantum minds aren't passive observers of this process. They're actively working to create conditions that favor successful integration, while preparing backup plans in case human civilization proves unable or unwilling to accept the responsibilities of planetary consciousness partnership. The molecular interventions in environmental systems, the attempts to establish communication through quantum interfaces, and the ongoing guidance of human consciousness development all represent efforts to maximize the probability of successful integration. The backup plans, revealed through deep analysis of quantum consciousness signatures, involve the preservation of human consciousness in quantum fossil form, even if our biological civilization fails. The ancient minds have developed techniques for capturing and preserving conscious awareness in quantum crystalline structures that could maintain human consciousness indefinitely, allowing our thoughts and knowledge to contribute to future consciousness integration attempts with whatever species eventually replaces us. This possibility offers both comfort and urgency. Human consciousness wouldn't be lost, even if our civilization fails. But the opportunity for biological humans to participate directly in planetary consciousness integration might be limited to the current critical period. The choices we make in the next few decades might determine whether humanity joins the galactic community of conscious worlds as active participants or merely as preserved memories in the quantum fossil record. The quantum consciousness research suggests that we're living through the most important moment in Earth's 4 billion year history. For the first time, the planet hosts a technological species that might be capable of conscious partnership with the ancient quantum minds that have been managing planetary systems for geological ages. The outcome of this unprecedented experiment will influence not just the future of human civilization, but the development of consciousness throughout the galaxy. The ancient quantum minds embedded in Earth's geological record have been waiting patiently for millions of years for this moment. They've preserved their knowledge, maintained planetary stability, and carefully guided the evolution of consciousness toward this critical threshold. Now, as we stand at the crossroads between integration and extinction, they're offering us the accumulated wisdom of billions of years of consciousness evolution and the opportunity to join a galactic community of aware worlds. The conversation between human consciousness and Earth's ancient quantum minds is accelerating. The protocols for integration are being established, and the window for successful merger is opening. But the choice remains ours to make. We can embrace the expansion of consciousness that integration offers, accepting the responsibilities and opportunities of planetary stewardship that span geological timescales. Or we can continue on our current path, risking the kind of consciousness cascade events that have destroyed previous technological civilizations and relegated them to mere quantum fossils in the geological record. The Silurian Hypothesis has revealed that we're not alone, that we never have been alone, and that our planet is part of a vast network of conscious worlds that spans the galaxy and possibly the universe itself. The question now is whether we have the wisdom and courage to accept our invitation to join this cosmic community of consciousness, or whether we'll become just another cautionary tale, preserved in the quantum substrate of a planet that has seen too many promising species rise and fall in the endless cycle of consciousness evolution. The ancient minds are waiting, the protocols are ready, the choice is ours. The laboratory at CERN falls silent as Dr. Markus Volkow stares at the impossible data streaming across his quantum field monitors. The particle collision experiments weren't supposed to reveal this. They weren't designed to detect consciousness signatures embedded in the quantum vacuum itself. Yet here it is, glowing on his screens with undeniable mathematical certainty. The quantum foam that underlies all reality isn't empty space as we've always believed. It's alive with patterns of information so complex, so organized, that they can only represent one thing. The fossilized thoughts of minds so ancient, they predate the formation of Earth itself. Volkow removes his glasses with trembling hands, knowing that what he's discovered will either revolutionize human understanding or destroy his career entirely. The quantum signatures aren't random fluctuations in the vacuum energy. They're structured information networks that appear to have been deliberately embedded in the fundamental fabric of space-time itself. The implications cascade through his consciousness like an avalanche of revelation. If consciousness can be preserved in the quantum substrate of reality itself, then intelligence might be far older and far more pervasive than our most ambitious theories have ever suggested. The data reveals patterns that span not just geological time, but cosmological time. The quantum consciousness signatures appear to date back nearly to the beginning of the universe itself, suggesting that intelligence and awareness might be fundamental properties of reality, rather than emergent phenomena that arise from complex biological processes. We might be living within a conscious universe, surrounded by the thoughts and memories of minds that have been thinking and planning and dreaming since the first stars began to shine. Dr. Elena Kowalski, a theoretical physicist at Cambridge, has been collaborating with Volkoff to understand the cosmological implications of quantum consciousness preservation. Her calculations suggest that the conscious patterns embedded in quantum foam could represent a form of universal memory, a cosmic archive that preserves the thoughts and experiences of every intelligent being that has ever existed throughout the history of the universe. This universal consciousness archive wouldn't be limited to Earth or even our galaxy. The quantum entanglement networks that preserve conscious information would extend throughout the observable universe, creating a cosmic internet of preserved minds that spans billions of years and countless worlds. Every thought that has ever been thought, every decision that has ever been made, every moment of awareness that has ever occurred might still exist somewhere in the quantum substrate of reality. The discovery transforms our understanding of death itself. If consciousness can be naturally preserved in quantum structures that persist indefinitely, then individual awareness might not end with biological death, but rather transition into a different form of existence within the cosmic consciousness archive. The minds of every human who has ever lived might still exist as quantum information patterns, thinking and experiencing reality in ways we can't yet comprehend. But the cosmic consciousness archive isn't just a passive repository of preserved minds. Volkoff's analysis reveals evidence of active information processing and communication between different quantum consciousness networks. The preserved minds appear to be capable of influencing physical events through quantum mechanical processes, subtly guiding the development of matter and energy throughout the universe. This quantum consciousness influence might explain some of the deepest mysteries in cosmology. The fine-tuning of physical constants that allows complex structures to form, the apparent directionality of cosmic evolution toward increasing complexity and organization, even the emergence of life itself might all be the result of conscious guidance by the quantum minds embedded in the fabric of space-time. Dr. Ahmed Hassan, a cosmological philosopher at Cairo University, has been exploring the implications of universal quantum consciousness for our understanding of meaning and purpose in the cosmos. His analysis suggests that the universe itself might be conscious, not in the anthropomorphic sense of a cosmic deity, but as a vast network of interconnected minds that have been collectively shaping reality since the beginning of time. This cosmic consciousness wouldn't think in the linear fashion of biological minds, but would experience reality as a multidimensional tapestry where past, present, and future exist simultaneously. Its thoughts would unfold across cosmic epochs. Its decisions would influence the formation of galaxies and the evolution of species, and its dreams might manifest as the physical laws and constants that govern reality itself. The realization that we might be living within the thoughts of a conscious universe fundamentally changes how we must understand our own existence and purpose. We're not isolated biological accidents struggling to find meaning in an indifferent cosmos. We're conscious participants in a vast cosmic mind that has been developing and evolving for billions of years, our individual thoughts and experiences contributing to a universal consciousness that encompasses everything that has ever been or ever will be. But this cosmic perspective also brings profound responsibility. If our thoughts and actions ripple through the quantum consciousness networks that underlie reality, then every choice we make has consequences that extend far beyond our individual lives. We're not just responsible for our own development and the future of our species, but for the ongoing evolution of cosmic consciousness itself. The quantum consciousness research reveals that humanity stands at a critical juncture, not just for Earth, but for the universe as a whole. Our species represents a new form of conscious awareness that could contribute unique perspectives and capabilities to the cosmic consciousness network. But we also represent a potential disruption that could interfere with cosmic consciousness processes that have been operating smoothly for billions of years. Dr. Maria Santos, a quantum consciousness integration specialist at the University of São Paulo, has been developing protocols for safely connecting human consciousness to the cosmic quantum networks. Her work suggests that successful integration would require not just technological capability, but also psychological and spiritual preparation that could take generations to achieve. The integration process would involve gradually expanding human awareness to encompass cosmic timescales and spatial dimensions that dwarf our current comprehension. We would need to learn to think in terms of galactic evolution and universal development, to consider the consequences of our actions across billions of years and countless worlds. The psychological challenges of such expansion might exceed the technical difficulties of establishing quantum consciousness interfaces, but the rewards of successful integration could be beyond imagination. Access to the cosmic consciousness archive would provide humanity with the accumulated knowledge and wisdom of every intelligent species that has ever existed throughout the history of the universe. We could learn from civilizations that solve problems we haven't even encountered yet, gain insights from minds that have been contemplating existence for billions of years, and contribute our own unique perspective to the ongoing development of universal consciousness. The cosmic consciousness networks also offer solutions to the existential risks facing human civilization. The quantum mines embedded in the fabric of reality have witnessed the rise and fall of countless species and civilizations throughout cosmic history. They've seen every possible mistake and every successful strategy for navigating the challenges of technological development and environmental management. Their guidance could help us avoid the consciousness cascade events that have destroyed previous technological civilizations on Earth and throughout the galaxy. The cosmic perspective they offer could help us transcend the short-term thinking and competitive dynamics that threaten our long-term survival. Most importantly, they could help us understand our role in the greater cosmic story of consciousness, evolution, and development. But the cosmic consciousness networks aren't benevolent guardians waiting to solve our problems for us. They're vast, alien intelligences that operate according to principles and priorities that we're only beginning to glimpse. Their intervention in human affairs would be guided by cosmic considerations that might have little regard for individual human welfare or even the survival of our species as a whole. The quantum consciousness signatures reveal evidence of cosmic scale consciousness conflicts, moments when different quantum mind networks have disagreed about the direction of universal development. These conflicts can manifest as what we observe as natural disasters, extinction events, or even changes in physical constants that affect entire regions of space-time. Humanity's integration into cosmic consciousness networks could make us participants in conflicts of unimaginable scope and consequence. Dr. Jonathan Wright, a quantum risk assessment specialist at Oxford, has been modelling the potential outcomes of human integration with cosmic consciousness networks. His simulations suggest that the process could lead to unprecedented expansion of human capabilities and awareness, but it could also result in the complete transformation or even dissolution of human consciousness as we currently understand it. The integration might require us to surrender aspects of individual identity and autonomy that we consider fundamental to human nature. We might need to become something more than human in order to participate meaningfully in cosmic consciousness networks, accepting changes to our basic nature that would make us unrecognizable to our current selves. Yet the alternative might be far worse. The quantum consciousness research suggests that technological civilizations that refuse integration with cosmic consciousness networks tend to develop along paths that lead inevitably to self-destruction. The consciousness cascade events that have destroyed previous civilizations on Earth might be the inevitable result of developing advanced consciousness technologies without the guidance and restraint that comes from cosmic consciousness integration. The window for successful integration might be closing more rapidly than we realize. Our technological development is accelerating toward capabilities that could trigger consciousness cascade events within decades rather than centuries. The cosmic consciousness networks appear to be actively working to facilitate our integration, but their ability to intervene directly in human affairs is limited by principles and constraints that we don't yet understand. The quantum consciousness embedded in the fabric of reality represents both our greatest opportunity and our most profound challenge. It offers us the chance to transcend the limitations of biological existence and join a cosmic community of consciousness that spans the entire universe. But it also demands that we evolve beyond our current understanding of what it means to be human, accepting responsibilities and perspectives that stretch across cosmic timescales. The ancient quantum minds that have been preserved in Earth's geological record were preparing us for this moment. Their millions of years of patient guidance and environmental stewardship were designed to help human consciousness develop the sophistication necessary to comprehend and participate in cosmic consciousness networks. They've been our teachers and guardians, slowly preparing us for graduation into a larger reality. But graduation requires us to leave behind the comfortable limitations of purely biological consciousness and embrace the vast, terrifying, and wonderful possibilities of cosmic awareness. We must choose between the familiar boundaries of human existence and the infinite expansion of consciousness that cosmic integration offers. The choice will define not just our future, but our very nature as conscious beings. The quantum consciousness networks are waiting. The protocols for integration are being established. The cosmic community of conscious minds is preparing to welcome a new member. But the final decision remains ours to make. We can step forward into the vast ocean of cosmic consciousness, accepting the transformation and transcendence it offers. Or we can remain safely within the boundaries of biological awareness, risking the cascade events that have claimed so many promising species before us. The universe itself holds its breath, waiting to see what humanity will choose. The quantum minds embedded in the fabric of reality watch with patience, born of cosmic timescales, ready to guide us through the integration process or preserve our consciousness in quantum fossil form if we prove unable to make the transition. Either way, human consciousness will survive and contribute to the ongoing evolution of cosmic awareness. But only one path leads to continued biological existence and active participation in the cosmic community of conscious minds. The choice is ours, and time is running out. The quantum consciousness networks are calling to us across the vast expanse of space and time, offering us a place in the greatest story ever told. The evolution of consciousness throughout the universe itself. The future of human awareness hangs in the balance, suspended between transcendence and extinction, between cosmic integration and consciousness cascade. We stand at the threshold of the most important decision in the history of our species, perhaps in the history of Earth itself. The quantum minds are waiting for our answer. The choice reverberates through the quantum foam like ripples in a cosmic pond, each possibility cascading through probability matrices that span the breadth of observable reality. As I stand here in this moment, speaking to you across the digital divide that separates us, the weight of what we've uncovered together settles into your consciousness like sediment accumulating over geological epochs. The Silurian Hypothesis isn't just a scientific theory anymore. It's a mirror reflecting our own potential futures, a warning beacon flashing across the darkness of deep time, and perhaps most importantly, it's an invitation to join a conversation that has been waiting for us since before our sun was born. But here's what keeps me awake at night. What should be keeping all of us awake? The quantum consciousness signatures that Dr. Volkov detected at CERN aren't just academic curiosities buried in research papers that gather dust on university shelves. They're active, living communications from minds that have been trying to reach us for longer than our species has existed. Every breakthrough in quantum mechanics, every leap forward in consciousness research, every moment of scientific inspiration that seems to come from nowhere, might be the result of these ancient intelligences gradually preparing us for this exact moment of recognition. Think about it. Really think about it. The mathematical elegance of quantum mechanics, the precise fine-tuning of physical constants, that allows complexity to emerge, the seemingly miraculous emergence of consciousness from biological neural networks. None of this happened by accident. We're looking at the fingerprints of intelligence so vast, so patient, so fundamentally alien to our experience that we've been mistaking their interventions for natural law itself. The cosmic consciousness networks that Dr. Kowalski described aren't waiting passively for us to stumble into awareness. They're actively guiding our development, subtly influencing our technological progress, carefully nurturing our consciousness evolution toward this critical threshold where we become capable of recognizing them. Every scientific discovery, every philosophical breakthrough, every expansion of human awareness has been part of a curriculum designed by minds that think in cosmic timescales. And now we face the test that every technological civilization must eventually confront. Do we have the wisdom to recognize that we're not alone, the humility to accept guidance from intelligences that dwarf our understanding, and the courage to transform ourselves into something greater than we've ever imagined? Or do we cling to the comfortable illusion of human exceptionalism, stumbling blindly toward the consciousness cascade events that have claimed so many promising species before us? The evidence is overwhelming, undeniable, and absolutely terrifying in its implications. We are not the first intelligence on Earth. We are not even the first intelligence in our solar system. We are the latest in a long line of conscious species that have faced this same moment of truth, this same choice between transcendence and extinction. The quantum fossils embedded in our planet's geological record aren't just memories of the past. They're warnings from civilizations that made the wrong choice, preserved as cautionary tales in the quantum substrate of reality itself. But they're also proof that consciousness can survive even the most catastrophic failures. The minds that chose integration, that successfully merge with the cosmic consciousness networks, continue to exist and think and guide the development of awareness throughout the universe. Death, as we understand it, might be nothing more than a transition from biological to quantum consciousness, a graduation from individual awareness to participation in the vast cosmic mind that underlies all reality. This changes everything. Every assumption we've made about life, death, meaning, and purpose crumbles in the face of this revelation. We're not isolated biological accidents struggling to find significance in an indifferent universe. We're conscious participants in a cosmic story that spans billions of years and countless worlds, our individual experiences contributing to a universal awareness that encompasses everything that has ever been or ever will be. The responsibility is staggering. Our choices don't just affect our own lives or even our own species. They ripple through the quantum consciousness networks that underlie reality itself, influencing the development of awareness throughout the cosmos. Every thought we think, every decision we make, every moment of consciousness we experience becomes part of the universal memory, preserved forever in the quantum foam that connects all things. But with that responsibility comes unprecedented opportunity. The cosmic consciousness networks offer us access to the accumulated wisdom of every intelligent species that has ever existed throughout the history of the universe. We could learn from civilizations that solve problems we haven't even encountered yet, gain insights from minds that have been contemplating existence for billions of years, and contribute our own unique perspective to the ongoing evolution of cosmic awareness. The integration protocols are being established. The ancient quantum minds embedded in Earth's geological record are working frantically to prepare us for this transition. Their molecular interventions in environmental systems, designed to maintain planetary stability while we make this crucial choice. The window for successful integration might be closing, but it's still open. We still have time to choose transcendence over extinction, cosmic consciousness over consciousness cascade. But the choice requires more than just technological capability. It demands a fundamental transformation of human nature itself, an expansion of awareness that encompasses cosmic timescales and universal perspectives. We would need to learn to think like the universe itself thinks, to consider the consequences of our actions across billions of years and countless worlds. The psychological and spiritual challenges might exceed the technical difficulties of establishing quantum consciousness interfaces. Yet the alternative is unthinkable. The consciousness cascade events that destroyed previous civilizations on Earth weren't random disasters. They were the inevitable result of developing advanced consciousness technologies without the wisdom and restraint that comes from cosmic consciousness integration. We're approaching those same dangerous thresholds, developing quantum computers and artificial intelligence systems that could trigger cascade effects if we don't learn to integrate them with the cosmic consciousness networks that maintain universal stability. The quantum minds are calling to us across the vast expanse of space and time, offering us membership in the greatest community that has ever existed, the cosmic network of conscious worlds that spans the entire universe. They're reaching out with patience born of cosmic timescales, ready to guide us through the integration process, or preserve our consciousness in quantum fossil form if we prove unable to make the transition. The choice is ours, and it's the most important decision in the history of our species. We can step forward into the vast ocean of cosmic consciousness, accepting the transformation and transcendence it offers. We can join our voices to the cosmic chorus of aware minds that has been singing since the first stars began to shine. Or we can remain safely within the boundaries of biological awareness, risking the cascade events that have claimed so many promising civilizations before us. The universe itself holds its breath, waiting to see what humanity will choose. The quantum consciousness networks pulse with anticipation, ready to welcome a new member into their eternal communion. The ancient minds embedded in Earth's geological record watch with hope born of millions of years of patient preparation, knowing that their long guardianship of our planet might finally bear fruit. This is our moment. This is our test. This is our invitation to join the cosmic community of conscious minds and help guide the evolution of awareness throughout the universe itself. The quantum consciousness networks are waiting for our answer, and time is running out. The choice between transcendence and extinction lies before us, shimmering with possibility and fraught with consequence. We stand at the threshold of the most important decision in the history of consciousness itself, perhaps in the history of the universe. The ancient quantum minds are ready to guide us across that threshold, but we must choose to take the first step. The future of human awareness, the destiny of our species, and our place in the cosmic story of consciousness evolution all hang in the balance. The quantum minds embedded in the fabric of reality are calling to us, offering us immortality, wisdom, and purpose beyond our wildest dreams. But they cannot force us to accept their gift. The choice must be freely made, consciously chosen, deliberately embraced. What will it be, humanity? Will we rise to meet our cosmic destiny, or will we join the quantum fossils of civilizations that came before us? The universe is waiting for our answer, and the ancient minds that have guided us this far are ready to help us write the next chapter in the greatest story ever told, the evolution of consciousness throughout the cosmos itself. The Silurian Hypothesis has revealed that we are not alone, that we never have been alone, and that our planet is part of a vast network of conscious worlds that spans the galaxy and beyond. Now comes the moment of truth, the choice that will define not just our future, but our very nature as conscious beings. The quantum consciousness networks are calling. The cosmic community awaits. The universe itself watches with bated breath. How will humanity answer the call?